In college, I sold pest control, and I was like, man, I gotta, go get one of those flashy finance jobs. Went out to New York, did investment banking, I was working 100 hours a week. I noticed Rollins on the stock market. I noticed they were trading at like 30 times EBITDA, and I was like, oh crap, why on earth is a pest control company out trading one of the best cash flow businesses? Anyway, I dropped out, bought a van, and drove out from New York City to Wichita, Kansas, and set up shop.
All right. What does it really take to grow a pest control company beyond just knocking doors and spraying bugs? Today, we're talking with Ian Hodge, who is one of the owners of Evo Pest Control. He's going to talk to us a little bit about he and his team, how they've built a successful pest control company in a very competitive market. Ian, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to be here.
It's a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one. So, just like we were talking about, where we want to get started is we just want to hear the story of Evo. Tell us how it got going. How did you guys have the vision for it? Just start from day one.
In college, I sold pest control and, did really well. But I was like, man, I got to, go get one of those flashy finance jobs. That's, where I thought I was going to end up. So anyway, graduated school, went out to New York, did investment banking, and, was working 100 hours a week. And I noticed Rollins on the stock market. I noticed they were trading at like 30 times EBITDA, and I was like, oh crap, that's insane. Google was trading at like, I think it was like 24 or something. And I was like, why on earth is a pest control company out trading one of the, best cash flow businesses, technology business, software, on the market? And so I started diving in, and I was like, man, I didn't realize this pest control business was so valuable. And so anyway, I dropped out, bought a van, and drove out from New York City to Wichita, Kansas, and set up shop, and ended up partnering with two guys with a little marketing company to get the door-to-door force going. And now it's only been about 3 years, so we're still brand new, still growing, still figuring things out. But it's been fun.
That's a pretty cool journey, though, dude. I don't think very many pest control companies go from Wall Street to Wichita, Kansas to start a pest control company. Were you nervous about that decision? Did you go in pretty confident?
Dude, I was terrified. I was shaking in my boots. Getting into investment banking was it took tons of studying, like recruiting. It's so competitive, and I finally got my offer, and I worked so hard for it. A lot of my friends were in the industry, were in private equity, and that's where I thought I was going to end up. But I just knew I was going to be working 100-hour weeks until I was, probably in my 30s, and still working a ton and working for other people. Didn't want to be in that position. So my wife certainly wasn't happy about it when I told her, hey, we got to, pack up the bags, moving from the Upper West Side over to the middle of nowhere. She was, that took a lot of convincing and a lot of selling. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, from the Wolf on Wall Street to like Dorothy in Kansas, man, that's a cool kid. But I mean, it sounds like, obviously a good move, right? So talk us through, what was it like day zero, day one? You moved to Kansas and you're partnering up with these guys to get started. How do you even go about attacking that?
Yeah, I was lucky. My father-in-law, I married into, pest control. So Shannon Cole, he's the Vantage, Insight. He's had a bunch of pest companies, built them and sold them a bunch of times. So he's been an incredible mentor for me. He's still like providing incredible value to our business. And so I was just, talking to him and talking to as many people as possible, just figure out how they've done it. He's got an operator who's built a really good practice up in the Northwest, and I talked to him a bunch. And so, just taking that. And so I signed up with these guys for a marketing deal to pay them to send a team out to Wichita, and I would kind of help lead the team and help put on accounts myself, and hired, 2 techs, had my wife answering calls, just bootstrapped all the way through. And, the relationship worked out really well with that marketing company, and they saw I was a really good operator and had the financial background to be able to, build a stable company that could grow.
Very cool. So from day zero, then you were out knocking doors and signing up accounts too. Then you were boots on the ground. That's great.
Yeah. Yep. I was out there. My wife, even some days, when one of the techs called out, she'd get in the truck, go service some accounts. It was
no kidding.
Yeah. Got some funny pictures from that experience for sure.
That's true grit right there. It takes a lot of work. But of course, you had that experience because you knocked and you sold even before you went to New York.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
what would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned, I don't know, in like the first 3 months of going after it and say, hey, I'm going to start a pest control company. You know, I imagine it was hard work, you know, you're getting your wife to answer calls and go service homes, but what would you say were like the biggest takeaways, the biggest lessons you learned?
It was definitely, I mean, it was a lot of stress, but the biggest thing I've learned is it's just not that hard. You know, like
Okay.
anyone who wants to go start something, it's like if you start small, you start slow. It's like, I would, before I had the marketing company, signed up to come sell for me, I was just going to go and do it all myself. I was like, I don't care. Like, I'll just start myself. I'll go sell 4, 5, 600 accounts, service them all for the first, maybe month, and then hire a tech once I could just start paying a tech. And I think I would have been really successful figuring that out. It would have been a lot harder, a lot slower. But anybody who can sell something, I think, can probably go and start something. It's scary. It's really scary to take that step. No salary, no pay. You got to put yourself in that situation where you don't need income coming in every single month.
Dude, that's awesome. That's cool. That's what I like to hear. I have no doubt why your company is succeeding with that kind of answer. Like it's easy. So that's pretty sweet then. Going and knocking doors, going and selling those accounts and just getting after it. That's pretty sweet. Why did you land on Kansas as your starting point? Did you look into it beforehand and did you have different options or did you think, oh, this is an opportunity in Wichita?
Yeah, I was just looking. I'm like, just scoping out so many markets, man. It was a hard decision. I was like, I knew how competitive it got, and I still had a lot of friends knocking. It's honestly more competitive than I ever thought it was, but I was like, I'm not going out to some big old town. I'm not competing with all 10, 15 knocking companies. So I
Right.
was just like, Midwest is like, it's affordable out there. If I have to live there, I can live, like, I can get an apartment for 700, 800 bucks a month. My
From New
expenses.
York, yeah, that's a big
Oh,
difference.
yeah, yeah. We were on a fifth floor walk up paying like 3,500 bucks a month.
Yep, that sounds
Um,
right.
and it was a blast. We love New York. We miss it for sure. But anyway, so it's just cheap. Midwest is super cheap and just something with very few knocking companies. And so when I was looking at Wichita, I was looking in Columbia, Missouri, and then Wichita, Kansas. And neither of them really had any big knocking companies. There's one company in Wichita called Alta. I knew they had sent teams out, before, but I knew it wasn't like their main strategy anymore. So I was like, I feel like Wichita's a big enough town where I can get a good, decent size, but not gonna have to deal with 4 or 5 teams knocking the same doors.
Huh. Very cool. So okay. So landed in Kansas, you've got your started up. That's kind of the first 3 months then. So about how many months in before you're like, all right, I need to partner with this marketing company to come in and help me grow the company?
So it's the marketing guys, Ryan and Christian, my 2 partners, they also had like a small pest operation. It wasn't doing super well. It wasn't like killing it. Wasn't really throwing off any, a ton of money. And they had an operator who they had hired and he just was doing a great job. And then, the Wichita branch was like killing it. We're getting tons of reviews. It was a really good time. Like, the people in Wichita received us very well. And they wanted to open up a second branch over in Missouri, actually. So they were like pretty focused on the Midwest as well, which is what made sense. So basically, we made a midsummer deal where I'd help them open up that Missouri office under their brand, under their name. I would help with the operations, and they'd kind of give me a little bit better deal on the marketing side of things. So that's how it all
Okay.
started. So I helped them launch a branch over in Missouri, helped with the operations on that, and then by the end of the summer, it was just like, look, I had no knocking guys, I had no team. They had 30, 40 guys that would finish the summer and they had no one to build up the business side of things. And so it kind of just like, it all kind of just fit together where it made a lot of sense.
Cool. Okay. So then you guys fused together then. So so what were the challenges then of kind of coming together and putting the two brands together and growing the way that you guys did? And so did that happen like about 6 months in, about a year in where you decided that was the move, or what was the timeline like for that?
Yeah, it was at the end of the first summer where we were like really considering it. And then just during that like off season, we were like, okay, we should probably consider this seriously. So we got lawyers involved and started looking at paperwork, looking at what it would look like with the transfer of equity and everything. And, partnerships are definitely, there's a lot of really good things about it, a lot of hard things about it, but, it kind of all made sense. But yeah, it happened pretty quick, probably 7, 8 months after I, left New York.
Gotcha. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. That's a really fast timeline to get a pest control off the ground and moving and going. So 7, 8 months in, you're in it. And then what did the end of year one look like then? Did it look pretty promising? Did it still look like, oh, this is going to be a challenge? Were you thinking about going back to New York at any point, or where were you at about a year in?
No, I mean, we were just all, we were just getting ready for the next summer. Like, it's like, okay, we got to sort out all of our legal stuff. We were going to rebrand too. We basically rebranded. Each branch was under a more local name. And so we were like, let's just do, more like a Green X or a Fox. Like, let's just do one brand instead of a bunch of different brands, make it one united company. So we had to rebrand everything. It's a lot of headache there logistically, and rebranded everything going into the next year. And then it's just ramping up, getting guys recruited, getting operations ready for the next summer pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's something that on the last one that we did, we talk about operations and hiring the right people, getting the right techs. How did that process go for you? What's your screening process for finding the right guys? You know how crucial that is.
It's huge. It's so huge. Like, and we definitely struggled with this, the first year, like finding good talent. Like, it's just so time consuming. And there's great people out there, just kind of sifting through, finding them. And now with how many hires, I mean, we've hired probably 15 people, maybe 20 people this summer. And we'd never have them in. We'd have to hire 2 or 3 people just to help us hire at that point.
When you hire somebody, then what does the training process look like? Are you still going, you probably got sales managers that are going door to door and helping them understand it. Like, walk us through the sales process or the sales training that your guys go through.
Sales training for like the reps?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as sophisticated as we would like. Like, we learned this summer, like, man, we lost way too many rookies. We got to beef that up. We got to, improve our training program for sure. So it was, we had weekly trainings by a guy who just, killed it in pest control, was pretty much a golden door guy. Like, he would do bi-weekly trainings with all the rookies. They can ask questions. But like, as far as video training, when we got a pretty good manual, it's pretty robust, but it was more like, with your team leader, do a weekly, like, go over one of the main things, and but nothing super structured.
Okay. Interesting. So is that something that you guys see as a challenge that you're going to work on fixing? Definitely. The ideas there?
Yeah. That's going to be a huge push once the summer's over, is like, get a really good, training platform built out.
Okay, great. Yeah. I that's just one of the conversations that we've heard a lot about, is like getting the right people in the system, getting them to stay throughout the summer, and helping them to succeed is just so crucial. So that's interesting that there's a piece like that. So what about working with clients and getting people to, like, after they've knocked and after they've sold, what does your process look like for that?
Clients, what do you mean? Like customers?
So, yeah, customers, guys that sign up with you guys after a rep closes a deal. What does the next steps look like for making sure they have a good experience and retention and all of that?
Oh, yeah. So, of course, like, we didn't have like any welcome calls last year, and our churn was like, less than ideal. And we had some reps selling some really, not ideal accounts and customers. And it definitely put a lot of strain on the business. So we were super interested in getting on like one of these AI welcome calls. I heard of Alta doing it when they knocked Wichita last summer with us. And I was like, man, we got to get on something like this. I don't know who they were using. I think they were using somebody else, but so we talked to you guys, and, it was a really pretty simple platform. And it's, so now, they fill out the contract, and then it opens up the video and they go through it, and it pretty much just reads out everything. And it's incredible. Now the rep just explains everything the first time, and then the video just goes over it again. Before, it's like, if the rep was like sketched out at all, like wasn't sure if they were going to get it, they just skip over some of this stuff, and it lead to tons of headaches. Now it's just full accountability. It's been, very, very helpful for us.
Yeah. You touched on something interesting I was curious about as well too. Like, do you get, reps that are closing bad deals? Like, is that just because the customer is not like understanding of what they're signing up for, or what constitutes kind of like a bad deal that gets closed?
Yeah, totally. Like, you get the really sketchy reps where you get customers calling in like, he told me I could just cancel after the first service. And, the rep is always going to swear like, I told him, I know I told him, and it's just like, who are we supposed to believe? If it happens more than once or twice, we keep getting on the rep, but like, sometimes the rep feels like, oh, if I tell them they're not going to sign up and they just want that sale so bad, they'll just like kind of whisper it, or, And so it's just,
Whisper it.
I don't know,
Write,
man.
write, write it on a napkin and slide it underneath the door after they leave.
Yeah, seriously, 100%. I mean, when I sold, I never did that because I knew they were just going to cancel. Like, I just
Yeah.
knew that I wasn't going to get paid on it. Why waste my time signing them up? But some of these reps, they're just trying to squeeze out one deal a day. They're just like, they're so scared to. And so it totally just resolved that issue with the video.
That's good. Yeah, I think it's sales is tough, man. Like anybody who's knocked doors before knows how hard it is to how bad they want that sale. I know, Ian, you're nodding your head right now, like, yeah, you know what that feels
It's
like.
tough. It's the hardest job, and that's why I can't even be that mad at the reps. It's like, dude, that job sucks. It's the hardest job in the world, knocking doors all day, every single day.
Yeah.
So I can't get too mad about it, but
Yeah, no,
some
that makes
accountability
sense.
helps for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, fascinating. Okay, so you're now in year 3 of your operations, is that right?
Yeah.
What would you say are kind of the bigger challenges that you've had to overcome as you've grown year over year?
I mean, we have so many challenges. We're always trying to overcome.
So many challenges. Good. We can
We're
start
starting from nothing, so we just had to build out everything. Like, still trying to build stuff out. I mean, the biggest challenges. I mean, there's of course the financial challenges that come with like quick growth. Like a lot of capital is required, and trying to source the capital and make sure we're properly capitalized. I mean, that's been definitely a struggle for us. I mean, it hasn't been a huge headache, but I mean, just learning the online game as well. Like, we don't want to just be doing door to door. So we're trying to put a lot of resources and headspace into building out our online processes and customer acquisition there. So, I mean, we're still facing all these challenges, still trying to figure them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much you guys have already grown in such a short time span. It makes sense that there'd be, challenges associated with that. So talk us through what you're doing online then. You said that you're trying to grow things out, your processes on your website. Like what's been kind of your focuses there?
We had like an SEO company, and they helped clean up the website a lot, which was really helpful. I think it looks a lot sharper than it did when we first started. But every single online marketing company and firm and guy will tell me something different. It's like, everyone's like, SEO is the silver bullet. You invest in SEO and you're good forever. Like, you don't need to do pay-per-click. And then the next guy's like, dude, you can't fight that battle, man. Everyone's fighting that battle. It's not even worth it. Like, let's just get you on PPC. That's the thing. That's the sauce. And I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, what's actually reality? What is the reality of digital marketing? And I don't know. And I know that we need to hire somebody who brings that expertise to the table. And once we get to that size where we can go and poach a guy from another company who's going to be able to just dominate that side of the business, I think that's when we'll take off. We're just trying to get up that scale and get to the size where it makes sense to pay somebody that big, that big paycheck that's going to take to get somebody with that kind of experience.
Cool. So paid media content and organic content. I mean, it all fits in with everything that you've been focusing on. So yeah, that's really neat. So what do your kind of day-to-day look like now then? You've started from knocking and growing in Wichita now. So now you're probably overseeing, I know you got your financial background and, you just barely touched on how important it is to maintain capital to grow the business. But what's kind of your highest priority lately?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we're switching over phone systems to a much more robust phone system that'll scale with our business. Like, I mean, I got the guy that's running the call center doing most of that, but that was a big thing for a little while. So we got that contract signed. We're in that process right now. Right now, like, I've been focused on the inbound sales, like getting our close ratio up and getting like cheaper, more affordable leads. And then just like getting all this stuff tracked. Like, there's a million different metrics inside the business that, like, ideally we'd have a dashboard that would track all of it live, but we just don't have it. And we haven't been able to find a service provider that can really like accomplish that for us. So that's one thing I'm trying to figure out and get, close metrics, save ratios, all this different stuff. So we can, kind of improve these things and have something to work towards.
Interesting. So what are the signals then I know it's early with this company though, but are there signals that like point red flag, this client's going to churn or this customer's going to churn? What do those look like?
I mean, it's super simple. Like, it's not rocket science. A lot of them aren't rocket science. They're using AI supposedly to look at data in the past and say which of these customers churned, what metric, what was going on. Okay, so it's like reservices. Like, have they had reservices recently? the most simple one is like, what did they rate your technician after you stop by? And that plays into what you guys do. You guys have the rating system, and they're going to hopefully tie that in too. But in field routes, they can rate the service from the email. So if they had a low rating, it's like, oh, that's super obvious. That's low hanging fruit. But then there's other stuff like, delinquency on their balance, like what they said in a call, like, AI call notes get put on the customer card. If there's like concerns in those notes, you can pick that up and like target those customers, just things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, it does seem so simple around like, I mean, in your world, I'm sure it makes a lot more sense around like what would be a red flag. So being able to categorize that and identify it and get ahead of it early, that's probably huge. So is that something that you can influence with your technicians that are servicing the homes, or does it start with the guys who are closing the sales? At what point do you feel like, if you identify, delinquency in payments or reservices, like, does that start with the service, the sales, or what point do you think it becomes clear to you, like, okay, I'm getting a red flag here. We gotta fix this.
I think it's like, we see a customer that's like, like you said, a red flag, and it's like outreach from the office, like just call, like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a service where you just got called randomly by that service. Like, how are you doing? Like, how's it been? Like, are you guys good? Is there anything we do to like improve
Not
it?
as much. I wish more people were calling me to check up on my services, honestly.
Nobody does it, but
Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. Exactly. It's like, and most of the time it's not necessary, but like in this case, if you do have some of those like red flag customers that are probably going to get switched by the next guy that knocks on their door, if you can get a guy to call them and just chat with them and see what's going on and see how we can improve our business and the service, that probably would go a long way. I think that's kind of like the action.
Yeah, because you do get those, and I think a lot of companies are really hurting for this because they'll get the, hey, complete this survey and we'll give you a free Taco Bell card or Amazon gift card or something like that. And a lot of times it's just a pain and nobody wants to do it. But finding ways to close that feedback loop, and I think using tools that integrate that as a way to rate your technician or leave them a tip, or even keeping track of those stats internally for how long is a tech on a site, did they share pictures or video of the job that was completed for the home? Was the customer satisfied with it? Those kind of things I think all come together to try to help with, it's 101, right? It's customer satisfaction, and making them feel happy. But I think there's a million other things you have to worry about as part of it. So tools that help to, create synergy around those items, I think are a huge plus.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, so then what's it look like for the next, 1 to 3 years for your pest control company? Do you have a long, what will things look like in 3 years if everything goes golden for you?
In 3 years?
Yeah. What's a 1 to 3 years outlook look like?
My outlook is like 10 years, 8 years.
10 years, beautiful. Let's hear the 10 years. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm a long-term guy. This is a long-term thing for me. I mean,
if you can count 10 years. Sounds like a Wall Street guy. He's got a 10
magic
years.
Doesn't happen in 3 to 5 years. Unless you're a private equity firm, then 5 years is that sweet spot.
Right. Okay. Well, tell us what your 10-year vision looks like.
I mean, when I was looking into pest control and deciding whether to drop out, when I was still in New York, I was like, there's not a ton of publicly available information of like precedent transactions of pest. I mean, there's some, but none of them have like metrics, multiples, anything like that. So the one that really like I gravitated to a lot was the Fox transaction. I think everyone in the industry was, pretty excited about that. I think they built a really, really good business, on all sides of the coin. And I think I'm trying to position ourselves to follow a similar trajectory. It took them about maybe 12 years. Obviously, those guys had a lot of time in pest control before, but I'm hoping, we can leverage some of the things that have been learned to do a similar thing in 10 years. So I mean, in 10 years, if I want to exit, maybe exit. But I tend to think I'm more the Warren Buffett type guy. Just hold on and let it keep growing. Put somebody in charge who can really kill it and just let it rip. Long term.
Very cool. Beautiful. Well, that's awesome, man. I love your vision. I love your approach. I feel like a lot of your professional background has positioned you well to succeed, kind of guiding it. Your vision for it in 10 years is really neat. So, if anybody, watches this, what would you say is the biggest, aha moment or thing that you've learned in the first 3 years of starting your pest control that is going to be the biggest help to them?
I would say like the biggest thing, like I kind of mentioned before, is just like it's not that hard.
Not that
If
hard.
you want to go start something or do something, it's really not that hard. You just got to learn to be able to sell it. As soon as you can sell something, you can go start your own business and get a little something going, and you'll learn the ropes as you go. I would also say, like having that professional background, especially in finance, if you go into investment banking or it's hard to get in, but maybe like, some of the other like more niche, private equity, venture capital, growth type spots, you kind of just learn what makes a good business, what creates value. And that can really help, guide your perspective on what to start and what to do, I think.
That's cool. That's brilliant. Excellent. Well, I loved hearing about your background and your experience and moving to Kansas, leaving New York and all that. That was great. Jared, did you have anything you wanted to tie off here at the end?
No, it's a great story, Ian. Thanks for sharing your 0 to 100, man. You've gone a long ways. It's pretty cool to see that and the hustle and everything you put into it. But we loved last couple of minutes here a little bit more about our partnership with Apruv and Evo and your experience, things that Apruv has done for you guys, and get your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are servicing us on all kinds of angles at this point. I haven't been paying attention to the dashboards yet. So on the contract verification, it's been a home run, like just a no-brainer home run for us. And I think we all knew it would be. So we're super pumped about that. Like, very good decision for the business. The technician side, I think it was still 100% worth it. There's always been tons of kinks, and we knew that going into it, and we feel like that's fine. We were expecting that. I do think as it evolves, what is it called? The technician side?
Approve rate and approve align.
Yeah, rate and align. Yeah. We think that I believe that you guys will continue to improve that system out where we'll be able to get more and more value from it. Where it stands right now, it's still worth it for us, I think. But we're excited to see where that goes. It's, the technicians, they definitely didn't love it at first doing those videos. They were like feeling embarrassed and stuff. But now we're kind of we changed the rules a little bit where they only have to do the video if the customer isn't home. So not doing quite as many. They can do notes or voice memos otherwise. And I think it's good. I think it's really good. I think customers like it for sure. It helps us get more feedback, like you guys mentioned. And, it wasn't super difficult to implement either, which has been great.